you have to have your nitrogen, which is your green stuff. So what I'm doing is October, we're in October, everything's starting to yellow. I'm gathering that nitrogen to put into my bed instead of letting it die on my plants like these elephant ears. As it starts yellowing, I go ahead and cut it. Something I've read is it says the finer shredded your stuff is, the better it'll do. Now, I'm in no particular hurry. I do cut my stuff up a little bit. I use a fillet knife as I go. I'm in no hurry. I plan on having between 16 and 20 compost bins with about 4 to 5 ready at any time. So I'm not in that big a hurry, so I'm not chopping mine up super fine. So I thought, in case maybe some of y'all were watching to see how this compost test that I'm doing to learn the compost is going, I would show you all the processes that I'm using. So this is my nitrogen gathering process where I cut leaves and cut limbs. I'll show you what I do. Remember though, everything I read, and it makes sense, is the finer, the better, the faster. That's not what I'm after. So we're gonna see how this works over a few month period. I'm good with that, and we're gonna test this. And like I say, more of a fill-in so that you understand when you see me putting that green into that compost bin in that compost test video, you understand what size I'm slicing it in. So that'll tell you how long, or maybe you may need to slice it more because you want it faster. So let's get over here and check it out. We're out here in October. Things are starting to yellow back. Look at that, notice that beautiful holly wall behind it. I mean, that is beautiful. And that's a fast growing shrub. It is growed. You could cut that down, but at the beginning of summer, it'd be that high by the end. You wouldn't know it, but I just trimmed that 3 months ago. It's probably, I bet that's 25 foot tall. Anyhow, you see how that leaf over here is broke over. Even though it's solid green, it's broke. It's gonna yellow over the next few weeks. No use letting that go to waste. Guy I work with turned me on to most tropical plants are soft. Simplest thing is an old fillet knife. I bought one up there at the Wilson's Bait and Tackle, I believe it was. Paid a few, I don't know what I paid for it, $8 or $10. Works just perfect. I think I even got something where I showed you trimming these on banana trees. I can't remember for sure, but I'll just take that leaf. And I generally like to cut about a longitude, whatever that is on the stem. Just slice it right off there. This is how I slice mine. I'm not in a rush. If I can get a decent compost within a 2 to 3 month period, I'm good. So I'm not interested in shredding. And for those of you curious about it, that beer can is not going in the composter. A leaf that size, I'll just cut it up to pieces. Notice how the veins run in that leaf. What I'll do is just make me a little slice in between each set of veins. It ain't gotta be perfect. And then I'll just come back with that fillet knife and pop it to pieces. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Just cut it in between them veins right here. Just stick your little fillet knife, it'll slice right off. And then just cut it into pieces in your cart. You know. I'm gonna show you right here about the average size piece that I got. That's about the average size. Now, if you're following some super duper quick compost method, this is not right. You need to shred that on down. For me, from what I've read and what I've been told, doing what I'm doing, if you've been following the compost experiment, is about 3 months I can make compost with stuff that size. That's good enough for me. With the number of compost bins I intend to end up with, I'll have plenty going all the time and some extra. So I'm happy with that size. If you're wanting it quicker than that, you need to shred this. Not just your nitrogen, your carbon too. The more it's shredded, faster it breaks down. Let's go over here and check out some of these other type plants that I cut green stuff off of. Take these ginger, for instance. Now, something we should probably pause right there. I use Roundup. So like these type of plants, I want to put them into a bin that's just going to be put back to my plants that I use Roundup, not to my vegetable plant compost bins. I want that to be all natural because I'm consuming that food. So what I'm doing here, I'm setting up to do on a large scale. this may not be for you and what you're doing, so you need to keep that in fact. If you use Roundup like I do in your flower beds, that compost needs to be in a separate composter. This is only to be put around your flowers, not around your vegetables. So that's the reason for that. This old ginger is pretty. I don't know if you've seen any of these red flowers. Let's get one here before I show you how to cut this up. That is ginger. Puts out a liquid. Smells so good. Oh, I cut these up as they fall off. Go into my compost. Now, when you're doing this with certain type plants, you want to make sure, if you're worried about that you don't have no seed pods in your stuff that you're cutting up of whatever variety. For me, I don't care if it comes up in something else. I'm gonna pick it up and transplant it. Now the stalks on ginger and this type of plant, you can see it's round, it's woody. Or not really woody, but it's just more. I just cut this up in about 3 to 5, 6-inch pieces by just chopping it. Take the leaves off. Big leaves like that, I'll take them in half. I'll just hold it up like that and take about half that leaf. And then I'll take the other half. And then I'll cut it in about 3 to 6-inch pieces so that it's easier to break down. And this will work for most tender green round stalks like this ginger. Dial you in over here, I want you to see some of this ginger. These are cones here. And here, there's some laying on the ground. You see those over there, green and red. Real sweet smelling, just a beautiful, beautiful tropical plant. It makes sense because this is gonna die during the winter anyway and come back next year, not to let it go to waste, be able to use it and compost it. Save some money on fertilizer next year. Come back, pull your straw out, put your compost that you made out of those plants back around it, pull your straw back, free fertilizer, and it's good for the soil, good for the soil. Banana tree leaves, pretty much the same way. I'll just quarter them into about 4 to 6, 8-inch pieces. So the reason I don't shred mine any finer, I'm experimenting. I want to get the best quality compost that I can get with the least amount of effort by utilizing what I have. I'm gonna test that in this. I'm gonna use that compost next summer around some plants and not around other plants and compare it. If I achieve what I want, this is what I'm gonna continue with, basic. If I don't, then we'll get into something a little different and try some other forms of composting. I've been told by a fella that this works. I've read on the internet that it works. So yeah, by all means, shredding it makes a difference. The finer you shred it, the better it'll do, the quicker it'll break down. So if you're aiming to break it down quick, this is probably not my composting videos are probably not what you want to follow right now, unless you're just interested to see how that works, because that's what I'm after. I'm after the best quality with the least amount of input by utilizing what I already have. And I'm gonna keep working with that, and if it don't work out, then I might try something new. So I just thought you might want to see how I break up my stuff, and that way while you're following my videos on how it's doing, those of you that watched the 1-month checkup yesterday, we'll see. I'm hoping that I can fill as many bins as I can fill throughout the winter as my stuff's dying off by raking and combining, and see how much compost I can produce over the winter months until about February or March when I'll start using. As always, I appreciate y'all following along with me and joining me in these little experiments and quest for knowledge, along with some of the instructional stuff that I do know about, I talk to you about. And I entertain you to tune in. If nothing don't go wrong, we're fixing to do a couple great videos on some experiments. Well, I'm gonna show you step by step. We're gonna put together a hugelkultur bed. I'm gonna show you how to layer it and how it's supposed to be. We're gonna put it together, and then we're gonna see as it follow along, as it produces. I'll show you how we're gonna plant it. So we got these compost videos coming on. With this rain stop, we're fixing to start pouring it on. So y'all keep tuning in. I appreciate y'all watching.